USC football and its fan base succumb to hysteria, and it's all Alex Grinch's fault. UCLA makes quarterback change that pays immediate dividends, and Darvin Ham surprises in naming his final starter for the Lakers. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. So it is super early on October 22nd, 2023. It's a Sunday, it's the Lord's Day. Despite what happened yesterday, for most LA teams, there's still reason to thank God for the blessings in your life, like LA sports. If you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It lets you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means, comment, because there is a ton to get to today. I can't sleep. I'm still pretty worked up over the things that happened. So before we go through the news and notes, look at the scoreboard. Yesterday, Utah, 14th ranked Utah, edged USC with a last-second field goal, 34-32. Caleb Williams passed for 256 yards for the formerly 18th ranked Trojans, who are now on a 2-game losing streak, and I've got a lot to say about that in a minute. 25th ranked UCLA beat the daylights out of Stanford 42-7. Ethan Garbers replaced Dante Moore. Garbers wound up throwing for 2 touchdowns, 240 yards. Anže Kopitar became the all-time games played leader for the LA Kings, but they wound up losing to Boston 4-2. Raheem Edwards scored, but LA closed out the regular season with a 4-1 loss to FC Dallas. The Galaxy, they gave up more goals than anybody else in MLS this year. It was absolutely atrocious. In fact, they conceded 28 goals in the last 9 matches alone. LAFC, they have clinched third in the Western Conference. They are definitely going to the playoffs after a 1-1 draw with Vancouver. Dennis Bouanga scored and thus wins the Golden Boot in MLS. He had 20 goals in MLS play. Meanwhile, today, Pittsburgh is at the Rams at 1 o'clock. Kyron Williams was placed on IR. We're going to talk about that more as well in a couple of minutes. And the Chargers are at Kansas City at 1:25. You know, with a little bit of luck, they might put a little bit of football on TV instead of the 3 hours of slobbering over the blonde chick who's dating Travis Kelce. Fingers crossed, fellas. Fingers crossed. We might get to watch some football instead of a mid-looking blonde chick. So, let's get to the news. I've been saying it, and if you're a longtime watcher of this channel, you know what I'm about to say. Ever since the end of the college football season last year, I said both USC and UCLA needed to embrace sanity. They needed to embrace playing defense. And the first school that did that was going to wind up being the better football team. UCLA, and we talked about it on Friday Night Chalk Talk. We broke down the UCLA defense step by step. Why have they become this great defensive powerhouse in such a short amount of time? USC, on the other hand, brought back Alex Grinch. And we also broke down why that was not going to work. So, UCLA embraced sanity, but what happens when you don't embrace sanity? Nobody ever asks that. Nobody asks what happens when you make the insane choice. Well, panic, alarmism, hysteria. Fans, did you look at social media? Did you look at anything about how the fans are calling now for Lincoln Riley's head after just 2 losses this year? Completely whipped into a frenzy. Not just the fans, but the press. After the loss to Utah, for the first time in decades, and even the coach is feeling the heat, Lincoln Riley would not let any player come out to talk to the scribes after the game. The program is clearly circling the wagons. They have circled the wagons because they chose not to embrace sanity. And by the way, speaking of the scribes, they're going big game hunting. They have their crosshairs solely on Lincoln Riley. And it's not just because of Alex Grinch, but it's because he rescinded a press pass in part. I've been saying this for weeks. I'm a former sports writer. Sports writers are just as petty as anybody else on this planet. They absolutely hold a grudge against Lincoln Riley. But the other reason that Lincoln Riley is in the crosshairs is because, as predicted, they threw a chance at greatness away. They threw a chance at getting to the college football playoffs away because they decided to stick with Alex Grinch. Sports Illustrated, during the game, during the first half, when the score was tied at 14-14, asked if it was time for Lincoln Riley and USC to, quote, divorce. And I have to tell you, even at that point, that is just patently unfair. Matter of fact, I want to take this moment to call the writer, Matt Levine, a damn fool, because I want to explain something to everybody out there who thinks that Lincoln Riley and the offense lost the game. It is absolutely not true. They scored 32 points. USC put 32 points on the board. Granted, a few on a pick six. But if you score 32 points, you are in a position to win any game that you're in if you score 32. But the defense has a goal. The defense should be allowing something in the neighborhood of less than 20 points, preferably less than 17, because you can't expect your offense to always score 32. USC allows an average of 30.5 points a game. That's not even close to 20, let alone 17. The Trojans' defense allowed 483 yards of offense last night to a team that has the fewest yards per game in the Pac-12 conference. And by the way, for another time, the Trojans' defense made a backup quarterback look like John Elway. It wasn't just Bryson Barnes last night scoring 3 touchdowns. By the way, the third string quarterback for Utah. Third string quarterback for Arizona State, Drew Pine. Arizona State put up 28 points on Alex Grinch. Arizona's backup quarterback, Noah Fafita, 303 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. So it doesn't matter if it's a starter or if it's the guy at the farthest end of the bench. That guy will wind up outsmarting Alex Grinch. And we've been talking about that the whole year. This is what happens when you embrace insanity. Absolutely. Now, we agree, if you're saying that Lincoln Riley has to bear responsibility, we definitely agree that defensive coordinator Grinch was hired by Riley. But that the idea, I got to tell you, the idea of cleaning house for a team that is already bowl eligible is absolute overkill. Absolute overkill. Fire Alex Grinch? Absolutely. Clean house? Absolutely insane. And if Lincoln Riley keeps insisting on keeping Alex Grinch, we both know athletic director Jennifer Cohen, she knows how important football is to the school because she came from Washington, which is ranked in the top 10. She's not stupid. She knows how important football is to USC. She is not going to stand for this. She's not going to sit idly by. What happens is she's probably just going to go in there and pressure Lincoln Riley to get rid of Alex Grinch. And if Riley won't do it, then she might actually put him on the hot seat instead. Straight and simple. Now, for the nitty-gritty as to where the Trojans stand, the Trojans are actually still, oddly enough, in position to make the Pac-12 title game if they win their final 4 games. Now, are you asking if we should expect wins against Oregon, Washington, UCLA? Hell no, you shouldn't. Absolutely not. And I feel bad because, again, I'm not going to be talking about UCLA as much as I am USC, but USC is the bigger story because they chose insanity. What's more noteworthy when it comes to that? The person who does everything normally during the course of the day, or the guy peeing on somebody else's foot in broad daylight? Exactly. Insanity gets the attention every single time. Question for UCLA fans. Do you agree that after switching to quarterback Ethan Garbers, do you believe that UCLA is better than USC? Do you believe next week, or as soon as today when the AP rankings come out, that UCLA will be ranked higher than USC? I do. I absolutely do. And if you're a UCLA fan, I absolutely don't blame you if you want to pop your collar. But I would urge caution. That was against Stanford. Okay? I'm not saying you're going to wind up losing the rest of your games. I do believe UCLA is better than USC now. But again, that was Stanford. And also, you have to wonder, did Chip Kelly stick with Dante Moore too long? Would you guys have possibly beaten Utah if Ethan Garbers was under center? Still, the Bruins scored 2 touchdowns while I was watching that game before the seats got even warm. They put it in cruise control from there. So again, UCLA embraced sanity. USC did not. We all know the rest. Darvin Ham anointed the 5th starter for the Lakers, and much like naming a new pope, it was all very secretive, right? Because he wouldn't tell you. You just had to wait for the white smoke to come out of Crypto.com arena. You had to wait for the Gregorian chanting to announce something big was coming along. All hail Taurean Prince. Yeah, the newbie. It is a little surprising because we were expecting that it was going to be Jared Vanderbilt, who had it last year. We were expecting it might be Rui Hachimura, who had such a great run in the playoffs. But instead, we got a little hint recently because Ham referred to Taurean Prince as the prototypical 3-and-D guy. That was probably the big clue, wouldn't you say? Now, as for Vanderbilt, who again was in the running for the gig, he's likely going to miss the season opener against Denver. He's got a foot issue. LeBron James was asked about facing Denver in the season opener after the Nuggets swept the Lakers last year. And LeBron is basically saying all the right things. Quote, "I don't get motivated against opponents pretty much anymore. I don't need it. I don't want to say I don't get motivated to play. I'm self-motivated. I'm enough." Unquote. So, question for you. Do you buy that? I don't. Not at all. Why would you? Nuggets coach Mike Malone was like a middle-aged man who still can't get over how his high school crush dissed him. Mike Malone, even though he won the NBA title, could not stop talking crap about the Lakers. He even mocked LeBron James for possibly retiring. You don't think the entire Lakers roster took note of that? Of course they did. So the idea that LeBron, I believe the part about LeBron being self-motivated, that I buy. But I don't buy that he's not paying attention to the opponent this week. I don't buy that at all. We mentioned how Rams running back Kyron Williams was placed on injured reserve Saturday. This is due to an ankle injury. That means he's going to be out for the next 4 games. This gives you an idea of the severity of the injury. Obviously, you turn an ankle and it's light. Maybe you're out 2 weeks. But if it's a real ankle issue, like a severe sprain, you're out a month. So it's a severe one. He'll be eligible to come back in week 12 at Arizona. This is a bit of a hit for the Rams in a number of reasons. He is their leading rusher with 456 yards, which means he was on pace to pass 1,000. Something Cam Akers could never do. Hell, something that Austin Eckler over the Chargers could never do. Williams has also scored 7 touchdowns. Sean McVay, as for today's game, said he has an idea of what the running back rotation would be in the interim. Be on the lookout for a player who will be active, Darrell Henderson Jr., because he did play for the Rams for a couple of years. He knows the offense. He was waived by the team prior to the season, but he does play a similar game to Williams, too. So now that he's back on the active roster, don't be surprised if he makes a quick impact. Rams wide receiver Demarcus Robinson was robbed at gunpoint. Cops say that the dudes lifted more than $100K in jewelry. Guys, I don't know what neighborhood you're running in, but certain parts of LA, lots of parts of LA, you need to break out the cubic zirconia. Just saying. The Orange County Register reports that the Dodgers will not re-sign starting pitcher Julio Urias after MLB's investigation into his domestic violence arrest. I bring this up to you because, after all, I love telling you something that you probably could have guessed on your own. Clippers backup point guard Bones Highland could be on the sidelines when the season begins. He also has a left ankle injury. It happened in a preseason game versus his old team in Denver, who hate him. So that's not exactly taking advantage of a chance to show up your old team. The x-rays on Highland came back negative, but he does need to be reevaluated. So got to be patient. Angel City General Manager Angela Mangano said that interim coach Becky Tweed is a candidate to become the full-time head coach next year, but there's, quote, a thorough search process, which technically we haven't finished, unquote. She told that to the LA Times. Under Tweed, Angel City lost only one time in 14 matches to squeeze into the playoffs. But she's not a shoo-in for the gig. Go figure. Part of me wants to play the sexist card and say women. But no, I don't want to say that. I'm just saying it's tempting. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Do you believe that Alex Grinch and or Lincoln Riley are the scapegoats? Did UCLA, in fact, become the better football team in Los Angeles last night? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.